Hello, Natural University College of Extended Studies students. Finishing up our review of the world history Subtest 1 for Social Science CSET course. Just wanted to go over one last essay topic with you. We've discussed four others. We've gone over a compare and contrast of the rise of India and Japan as strong modern economies in the 1990s. We've compared and contrasted the Persian General Code with the rights of man and citizens. Would be the French Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizens, 1789. We also reviewed a compare and contrast essay, or topics for the compare and contrast essay, for Confucianism and Taoism. Let's go into the Reformation and the Counter-Reformation. The Reformation period consisted of two phases, the Protestant Revolution and the Catholic Reformation. With your knowledge of the period, analyze the causes of the religious, political, economic transformations which led to the Reformation and the impact of these transformations on Europe. Your essay should include the following: religious reasons for transformation, abuses of the Catholic Church, which included fraudulent clergy, sale of religious offices, the sale of, not exactly Blagojevich here, but something similar to that, the sale of the religious offices. Indulgences. We said indulgences earlier were the sale of, whether before the act or after the act of sinning, basically paying a priest or a clergyman to go and then either pay for that sin that you've already committed, or pay a priest before you go and commit a sin. So if you're an adulterer and you're like, oh, I feel really bad because tonight I'm going to see a prostitute, here's some money, and I'll still go to heaven because I'm paying the priest because I feel really bad about what I'm about to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah, doesn't really work. Dispensations, frauds involving sacred relics, so the selling of relics that were not actually Christian relics. Political reasons for the transformation, which included absolute monarchs' powers being too pervasive, especially over the church, and the growth of nationalism, as we see popes becoming really more kings than they ever were concerned with any sort of religious tenets. Economic reasons for the transformation, which include greed of the ruling monarchs, where it was really upsetting the rising middle class, the deep animosity against burdensome papal taxation, papal being of the Pope. So papal taxation, all the money would go to the Vatican, and that, of course, upset people because they saw the Vatican as being a housing station of richness, full of gold and gold crowns, and this was starting to irk them if they were living in poverty or rising out of poverty. The rise of the affluent middle class and its clash with the medieval church. And we talked about how important Martin Luther's ideas were in coinciding with the printing press and the access to being able to read the Bible and Scripture. The Protestant Revolution began in Germany with the revolt of Martin Luther against church abuses. It spread to Switzerland, where it was led by Calvin. It began in England with the efforts of King Henry VIII to have his marriage to Catherine of Aragon annulled, basically wanted a divorce, so he could wed another and have a male heir. If you want to research this, it's a very brutal period, and of course, there's some very interesting history there. I encourage you to look into it. Catherine, Aragon, and King Henry VIII. The results were not only the increasing support given not only the people, but also by the nobles and some rulers, and of course attempts of the church to stop it. The Catholic Reformation was undertaken by the church to clean up its act and to slow or stop the Protestant Revolution. So the Protestant Revolution was bringing over a lot of converts, and a lot of Catholics there was supposed to be, Catholicism's supposed to be a universal church. All Christians are supposed to be underneath that church, at least from its point of perspective. So at this time in history, any people leaving the church, first they were just seen as heretics, like, oh, forget them, they're they're not worth our time. Eventually, the numbers became so strong that the church had to address this issue of how do we get them back. So the Catholic Reformation starts to kick in. The major efforts to this end were supplied by the Council of Trent and the Jesuits. Please look up Council of Trent and research that. And the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus. 6 major results of the Reformation included religious freedom, religious tolerance, more opportunities for education, power and control over rulers was limited, increase in religious wars, and an increase in fanaticism and persecution, i.e. The Crusades and of course the Inquisition. This period is very interesting to study from both a religious perspective and a secular perspective. Just the ideas going back and forth, and of course how horribly worldly and horribly bitter the fight between people basically worshiping the same God, as we see with Sunni and Shia, as we see with the Protestant and Catholic in places like Ireland today, or not so long ago. Not that the fight has entirely dissipated there either, but we see that people under the same God in many of these regions or countries or entire continents fight over just interpretations of how to access and how the path to God should be approached. So anyway, let me see. I'll wrap this up now. Please review the videos I've posted. Use them to help you on the exam. I hope they help you score well, and I'll be adding some things as we go on so we can get the discussion going on what areas you think might be lacking to really fill in all of the possible angles on what the CSET will be throwing at you for their questions. There are quite a few topics that we can still discuss, so I'll be looking forward to talking about those. So I'll sign off for now. Talk to you soon. Bye.